All done? Yep. I wish to welcome everyone to the Ordinary Council meeting for April 2022. It's nice to see everyone here. We don't even mind if it's complaints as long as we get lots of people in our gallery. So thank you to the swimming club and the other people that have turned up tonight. Due to the adoption of Council's Code of Meeting Practice policy, 2 public forum sessions will be held during the council meeting. 1 public forum session will be held following the acknowledgement of country to hear the submissions from the public on matters listed for consideration at this meeting, and to also hear submissions on general matters. And the other public forum session will be held prior to confidential matters and will consider submissions from the public on matters considered by the council at this meeting only. Live streaming and recording of the meeting. This council meeting is being live streamed via YouTube. It can be linked via Facebook and recorded and published on live via council's website. To those present in the meeting today, by participating in this public meeting, you are consenting to your image, voice and comments being recorded and published. The Mayor and/or General Manager have the authority to pause the live stream if comments or debates are considered defamatory, otherwise inappropriate for publishing. Participants are advised that they may be subject to legal action if they engage in unlawful behaviour or commentary. Call for apologies. Everyone's here, so Neil, apologies. We have a mover and a seconder for the apologies to be accepted. Moved Councillor Gallagher, seconded Councillor Page. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Leave of absence, nil. Would you like to do the prayer, Councillor Boland?
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. Almighty God, we ask you to invoke your blessing upon this council. Direct and prosper our deliberations to the advancement and true welfare of the people of the council area, our state and Australia. Amen.
Councillor Gallagher, would you like to do the acknowledgement of country?
Yeah, we acknowledge the traditional owners upon the land upon which we meet and pay respect to those elders past, present and emerging.
All right, so the first public forum session is 15 minutes. Submissions regarding listed consideration is also on General Manager. The public have been advised through notices in the Barrier Daily Truth Council's website to register by 4 p.m. today. Members of the public are registered to address council be given preference, and then if time permits, anyone else present in the public gallery may address council. Speakers are allocated 2 minutes. Council received 1 registration prior to the deadline. 2, it should be, I think. Miss Lorraine Robinson. Oh, is there any, it's to do with the Willow Creek and the water from the Imperial Lake. Does any councillors have conflict of interest to declare? No conflict. Thank you, Lorraine.
Hi, my name's Lorraine Robertson. I wish to address the General Manager first up to see if he's had any luck in contacting the NRAR to find out. Well, you said you was going to find out what you could do about the creek. So who did you contact?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor, through you. So at the moment, we did contact the Land and Water Commission, as you're aware, and wrote to them and followed that up after last meeting. At the moment, Crown Lands are liaising with Water New South Wales, the Lands and Water Commission, and a couple of other state agencies to work out the responsibilities of each of those agencies to basically come to a settlement. So as I suggested before, it will be a slow process, but there is progress in regards to the matter. So it's in Crown Land's hands at the moment.
So how long do you think this will happen? Because I've nearly got washed out 3 times so far this year.
Oh, yeah, it's that one. Yeah, being on council for a long time, Lorraine, when it comes to Crown Lands, and we'll keep the pressure on them and Jay will keep the pressure on them. Sometimes as a council, we're waiting 18 months for them to do anything. So we'll certainly make sure that we can do all we can, because we're all aware of how important it is that it's taken care of really quickly. But the Crown Lands is one of the slowest organisations to work with.
Yeah, no, well, it's just that like after 60 years, I don't want to really lose my home, and that's what it's
Yeah.
adding up to.
Yeah.
And that, you know, I mean, if I hadn't have put the bank up a couple of months ago, I would have lost it
Yeah.
by now.
Yeah.
And that, so over a quarter of the property last night and the times before is all underwater.
You're happy to add
Yeah.
that to you. So the general manager will let them know just how critical it's becoming.
Yeah, no, well, I know we've had more rain this year than usual, but
But it can happen any year. So
well, it can. And I
Yeah.
mean, all we had to get yesterday was a little bit of a thunderstorm and I was
Yeah.
gone.
add that as well.
Okay,
Yeah,
then.
no worries,
I'll try
thanks.
again
Yeah.
next month. Then.
No, keep on going, but we keep on putting it on them. So every time you hear it, make sure that
Yeah,
we're following up as well.
yeah, no. well,
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
No worries. Ricky Shaw. This is to do with the Silver City Swim Club and lane allocation. So does anyone have a conflict? Any councillors have a conflict of interest? No councillors have a conflict of interest. Thanks, Rick.
Thanks, Mayor. Thanks, councillors and GM. First of all, I'd like to thank council for the successful and positive help that the Silver City Swim Club received with the summer allocation of lane space at the public 50-metre pool. Once we provided the accurate information to council, they were able to achieve a fair outcome for the club. So it wasn't just forgotten about. They'd done a fantastic job and I believe we got a fair outcome. So I just wanted everyone in the community to know that I think we've got a great council trying to help be fair to everybody in the community.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that first. Now, the next point, the roster for the lane space allocations come up for the winter season in the indoor 25-metre pool. And the roster was done again, initially without any consultation with our swimming club. So we agreed as an executive that we should meet with the YMCA to discuss what they offered. And we actually had to go in on Easter Sunday to discuss the matter. After our discussion and on viewing the extremely unfair format of the roster, in our opinion, we were told that no changes would be made. On exiting the meeting, I asked the YMCA representative if they thought last summer's roster was fair, in which they replied yes. I then reminded them that council obviously could see the unfairness of the roster and that we may have to seek council advice again. At 10 o'clock that night, we received an email from the YMCA giving us another 2 hours that another swimming club has given in. So we've got another 2 hours. What we originally applied for was 1 hour with 2 lanes from Monday to Thursday. So that's 8 hours of lane space, of pool lane space per week. We were given 4 hours. After our consultation with the Y, they wouldn't change. Another club has been allocated 44.5 hours for the week.
How many?
44.5 hours. We got 4. And another club got 7 hours for the week because that's what they applied for. So since we've been given the extra 2 hours, we've now got 6 hours, but we really do need that 8 hours for our 25 junior swimmers that will be competing. It's an indoor public 25-metre pool and they won't, it's too cold for them to train. So in our opinion, another club in town's got more than enough pool time and space to train their junior and senior swimmers. The time and space they have is extravagant. We only require pool space for our 25 junior swimmers in our public 25-metre indoor pool on an equal basis with other clubs. Silver City Swim Club can give an opinion of our view of a fair roster if council or anybody for that matter would like input. The current roster is actually monopolising lanes for one particular club and is blocking pool space for other users. So if this could be looked into, I don't know how you will do it, but yeah, that was the reason we come here today.
the general manager will just give you a breakdown with the contract and how these matters are to be resolved. So would you like to just let them know, Joe?
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, certainly we'll review that as the contract and the owners of the facility. So the clause within the contract would be for us to review that in consultation with the YMCA and determine the fairness or the unfairness in the approach, and see if we can come to an agreement with both parties. If that fails to do so, then obviously there's an option for mediation between YMCA Council and the club. And then after that, there's a decision that can be made by Broken Hill City Council in consultation with the YMCA for a final outcome. So we'll follow through that process and review it in the meantime.
Okay, thanks very much for your time.
So what it really means, Ricky, is that ultimately we can resolve it to a fair thing, and we'll go through. It's not taking the side of one or the other. It's about making sure there's a fair process. First off, council deals directly with the YMCA. If we can resolve that, then that's settled. If it can't, we then get everyone in together, speak, and ultimately between council and the YMCA, we can make a decision. So there is a way to do it. It's not just the end of it. Your letters are important to council. All the councillors would have read them. Jay's read them. I've read them. So best thing for people to do is approach the council, because things can be done. So thank you, Ricky, and thank you, the members of the Silver City Swim Club.
Thank you.
So we still have, how long left there, Joe? Still got 7 minutes. Would anyone else from the gallery like Peter? And just put your hands up. So hang on. So we've got 3 here. So keep it pretty. You first, Peter, and so everyone will get a go. Yeah. Just state your name for the tape. Thank you, Peter.
Okay, good evening, Mayor Tom, councillors, ladies and gentlemen. One subject I'd just like to bring to the attention of this new council is the fact that there's a piece of road from Warrygate onwards in Queensland that would be one of the spokes of our transport hub if we could get it sealed. In other words, direct route from Adelaide to Cairns and so on and so on. I'm just bringing this up in the short term to let you know that there's something to be done there. The biggest trouble is it's a Queensland Shire road. And while it has that designation, there's no chance of the federal government putting in 80% and the state putting in 20% and getting the thing speeded up and done. And the Shire's poking along at 3 kilometres or so a year. So I just thought I'd bring that to mind of the council. Dari has been working on it. And Tom, no doubt, will be working on it because it's such great importance to this city, even though it's nowhere near this city. The job is there to be done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bevan. Bob would like me to call people, Councillor Orgard would like me to call people Mr. So Mr. Bevan. And then Mr. Cools, if you'd like to just use your name for the microphone.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I apologise for not putting in a form, but I wasn't sure I was going to make it tonight. Mine's just a quick question. I don't know whether it's to do with council or council's road safety committee. It regards roadwork signs being put up, left up, and no work being done. To me, it's a safety issue for motorists and the public in general. As an example, I live down in Brazil Street, and in end of October last year, roadwork signs got put up, not a thing has been done. It's a waste of time. And it's happened in many areas around Broken Hill over the years where signs get put up. Obviously, motorists have got to obey the road rules, but it's crazy when nothing gets done. I'm talking just down the road from my place, has been there for 6 months and not a thing has been done. And they were put up by the water board.
Righto. If you could just let the general manager know the exact location, Bob, at the end of the meeting.
It's on the corner of Brazil and Fisher Street, and there's one on the corner of Fisher and Zabina Street.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But we will I'm sure the general manager would
I
address
wasn't sure
those.
if council had a policy where if you're not going to do it, take them down.
Probably, I'd say.
Thanks, Mayor. My name's Ben Clavel. I'm the president of the Stingray Swimming Club. We're the other club that we've been referred to by Silver City. I would just ask that when you do have a meeting about allocations of playing spaces and so on, that we be invited to those meetings as well as Silver City and any other clubs.
Thanks, Ben.
Thank you.
Any other, still got a minute? 3 minutes, anyone else?
Just a quick word. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tourists have been around and we are still poorly showing some of the items around town, such as the Ceresite sculpture near the Lions Park, the Windsor that stopped spinning and it has never gone on since, well, before I've moved to Broken Hill. So if we could fix little things like that, because there are, tours going on around town all the time, and it's a little bit shameful to point to these sculptures and they're looking a bit sad. That's all. Thank you.
Just for members of the public, the best thing about coming to a council meeting, if you bring a list with you, so when you bring these up and just hand it on to the general manager, it makes it a lot easier because
I wasn't sure I was going to speak tonight.
yes, so if you do have items that even if you don't want to get up and speak, best thing about coming to a council meeting, you can hand those over to councillors at the end of the meeting or the general manager or anyone, and so there's no obligation to get up and speak, but it does you'll get to have your say even if you don't, by just bringing your written note or whatever.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. So that's it. So we now go to confirm the minutes. Do we have a mover and a seconder for the minutes?
Move the minutes.
Moved Councillor Allgate, seconded Councillor Gallagher. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Disclosures of interest. We have two disclosures from the one councillor. Councillor Turley has a non-pecuniary interest in item 2 of health and building, as she is a member of the Country Women's Association and will leave the meeting. Councillor Turley also has a non-pecuniary interest in the confidential report, as she is the president of the Local Government New South Wales and also will leave the room. Thank you, Councillor Turley. Yes, and in the same item, the general manager, Mr. Nankivell, has a conflict of interest as being the general manager, and the item is to do with selecting a group for the general manager's performance appraisal, and you'll leave the room. So thank you, everyone. We have a mayoral minute, hasn't been given out, but it has been typed up there. I'll read it out. So mayoral minute number 6/22 dated April 27, 2022 be received. The council amended the code of meeting practice to include an acknowledgement to the mining history, that the policy and general standing committee determine the wording for recommendation to council, that the wording be along the following lines. We take time to reflect, remember and honour the over 800 miners that have lost their lives on the line of load. We thank the brave miners and their wives who were part of the 1919-20 strike that lasted over 500 days and delivered a 35 hours working week. Mining is our past and our future. Anyone like to second that? Oh, Councillor Page, you beat Councillor Boland by a fraction of a second. I'll just briefly speak to this. I'm not sure how many people went to the festival at the back of the town hall facade where there was a play. The play was to do with the strikes and stuff for Broken Hill. It was really good. During that, Christine Adams, who was a former councillor of the Broken Hill City Council, actually emceed that. And after she gave an acknowledgement of the mining, and I thought it sounded very good. Councillor Boland was there, Councillor Allgate. It was really good. I think Councillor Allgate would and Boland would agree with that. And I think as a community, we need to start making sure that we promote our history. It's not promoting our history about mining is about mining, but it's also making sure that the tourists and that come to town understand the importance of mining in Broken Hill. So thank you. Does anyone else would like to speak against? Anyone like to make comment? Councillor Allgate?
Oh, yes. Mayor Kennedy, I think it's only right. It's really correct that we acknowledge the people who have lost their lives. I mean, for a lot of Broken Hill people, even though they haven't worked underground, there are a lot of people who have been, associated with underground workers. And I know my father-in-law, my late father-in-law, he'd worked underground for 40 years. And during that time, he would have seen many a person killed in mine rockfalls and all the rest of it. The thing is that it's a dangerous industry, even in this day and age where Occupational Health and Safety and the Mines Inspection Act is enforced more vigorously. It is still naturally a dangerous industry in terms of underground work, because nobody really knows when a piece of earth is going to give away. I mean, we acknowledge, we have the prayer, we have the Aboriginal recognition, both of which are important. But I think equally important, if not more important, is to honour our own, the people who have worked and lost their lives here. And as you said, there's over 800 of them. Anybody who has a look at the memorial wall up on the line of load will be surprised at the number of people that they might actually have met or been associated with indirectly over time through families. And Broken Hill is established because of the mines. It's continuing now because of the mines. Okay, we have tourism, and we had the Bush Bash the other day, which was unbelievable. But mining is the thing that started us off. Mining is the thing that will probably be with us for the rest of our lives. And whilst 30 years ago, 40 years ago, they said there's only 10 years or 15 years left, they're talking about 20 years now still left in the mining industry. And I think it's only proper that we acknowledge the people who gave the ultimate sacrifice, and it's rightly to honour them at a meeting like this.
Thank you, Councillor Allgate. Councillor Page?
Yes, Councillor Kennedy. I think everyone would realise that we lost all those people mining, but just as many people, if not more, were crippled for a lifetime due to the conditions they worked under.
Yep.
Back in the old days, mate, it was very hard going, and the technology back then wasn't very good. So a lot of people, they were worn out, they were crippled as well. So if we could possibly, I don't know how you'd word that in there, but
and the people crippled and maimed on the line of load.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Page.
Thank you.
Councillor Turley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and certainly I support this inclusion in our conference. And I'm sitting next to a miner who knows more than anyone what it's like underground. But, you know, I am also the daughter of a miner and who was also the check inspector of the mines. So we were one of the first houses in Broken Hill to get a telephone, and you'd get the call about the injury, or as my husband still works underground, that you get a call from him to say it's coming up and something's happened. And we must remember that it's not that long ago that we lost a life underground. And so, and for that, you know, I support this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Turley. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you very much. I will also move a verbal mayoral minute, mayoral minute 7/22. The verbal mayoral minute is to thank and congratulate, send correspondence to the organisers of the Monday Bash, congratulating them and thanking them for such a great function. The general manager will add some other stuff to it when it's sent, but more or less just acknowledging how well it went. It was a magnificent event, and anyone that, and I strongly urge people that didn't go to the one this time, go there in August, because it was a fantastic event. So thank you. We have a seconder for that. Someone seconded Councillor Turley. You'd like to speak to that, Councillor Turley?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I certainly would. It was, I just also want to add that there was such a commitment from Greg and Raylene and to deliver a bash. And I think for those early conversations when he came to council, nobody could imagine what was going to be achieved. I also want to recognise the work of Anne Andrews and her team and the general manager. You know, it's been over 4 years in the planning, and certainly, you know, for that,
Quite happy to add that in there as well, if you'd like.
Thank you. No, thank you. I appreciate that. For that, I think the community of Broken Hill would be extremely grateful that they absolutely seen the vision that was being offered and got behind and supported. We're able to gather the state's interest in the project.
Definitely. Anyone else like to make comment?
Yeah, Mayor Kennedy, if I could, just a big congratulations to the Arden Street and all the traders in town. They got right behind it this time, and a lot of times there's a lot of criticism of, you know, what the wages are going to cost, what this is going to cost and all that. They really got behind it, and it's all I've heard around town is how good the service was. And I think it's an absolute credit to all those employers and employees to the town. I think we should thank them.
Yes,
thank you.
Definitely. Perhaps just a press release thanking everyone as well. So if people were happy to have that added in there. Speaking to a few of the performers and the organisers out there, one of the ladies who volunteered and was working behind the bar there, and she would be about 40 years old, said she would put this up in the top 2 or 3 things she's done in her life. Everyone I spoke to said how good the Broken Hill population was, how friendly they were, how good the businesses were. Many people said there's no place better that they've been to than Broken Hill. One of the performers actually said, and he was the bass player with Noiseworks, Steve Balby, actually said in all the places he's played all over the world and all over Australia, Broken Hill has been the best. So that's a lot to get. I know the last place you play at when you like, it's always the one you remember, but it's still good to hear. So all those in favour? Declare that carried unanimously. Thank you. There's nil notices of motion, nil rescission motions, nil reports from delegates. We now move on to committee reports, and we go to the Works Committee, item 1. Do we have a mover for item 1? Move, Councillor Boland, seconded. Councillor Turley, Councillor Boland, you're moving just the recommendation as written?
Just moving the recommendation as written, Mayor Kennedy.
I'll let you all go out. That's all right. You don't have to be quiet. We'll just pause for a sec. See yous later. Okay, councillor Boland.
It's looking through all the reports and the nominations we've got. It's great to see the community getting behind these projects and these groups and that kind of stuff. So it's great to see a lot of names of people applying to join these committees, and it's great to see the council really involving the community because that's who elects us. So looking forward to the committees and the subgroups I sit on. I'm looking forward to working with all our community representatives.
Thank you, councillor Boyle. Anyone speak against? No? No brief comment? No? All those in favour? Declare it carried unanimously. Thank you. Could we have a mover for item number 2?
You have that.
Moved. Councillor Hickey, seconded.
Second that.
Councillor Allgate.
Yeah,
Hickey.
thank you, Mayor Kennedy. Yeah, just move it exactly as it reads, and just to briefly ask General Manager where we are up to with the signage at this stage, if we could.
That's on the one sign you're talking about.
Yeah. Yes, sorry, just the one sign.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you. So now that the committee's been, once the voting's occurred, obviously once the committee is resolved, we'll be able to present the preferred gateway signage designs that council selected to that committee to determine which roadway and entryway for it to be located, and then we'll be able to get underway with replacing that gateway sign and having the construction completed.
Excellent. Excellent.
Thanks,
Councillor
General
Hickey?
Manager.
Nothing else? No. Anyone speak against, for, make comment? No. All those in favour? Declare it carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Item number 3, construction of Galena and Mercury Tower tender.
Yeah, I'll move that way.
Move, councillor.
With an
Hickey.
amendment. to
With
that
an amendment.
recommend-
What?
Before
we.
Oh, sorry, that was. No, I didn't. Sorry, that was the wrong one.
No worries.
Yeah.
Move the recommendation then as written.
Yeah.
Yep. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Page, you want to speak to that?
No.
I suppose what is important there is that it is becoming very difficult to actually get the contractors, the workers and everything that we need to get some of these things done. So this is the reason we've gone down this. We've got no submissions whatsoever to do a road. So that's how busy it is around the state at the moment. Would you like to just make a quick comment? You don't have to.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. No, probably just to echo your comments. Obviously, the supply chain issues due to COVID-19 and the Ukraine war have finally caught up with Broken Hill. And with the level of funding that has been provided by the federal and state government, there's works happening all across the state in Australia. So there is a high demand and competition within the market. So it is a bit of a struggle to bring those resources into the city at the moment.
Thank you, Mr. General Manager. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. We now move on to health and building. Item number 1. Do we have a mover for item number 1?
I'll move that.
Councillor
Mayor
Allgate.
Kennedy with an addition
Okay.
to the recommendation.
Yep.
The addition to the recommendation is that at item 3, that at this point in time, council take no further action in processing this matter due to the potential for unknown legal costs associated with the determination of native title and the possibility that we may be up for compensation if in fact the court goes against our. So, and in saying that, I was basically against this at.
Are you happy just to add a little bit, Councillor Allgate?
Yes.
That counts what you've written there, but we also write to the Department of Crown Lands saying that we'll continue with it if they give a guarantee of covering of costs and all associated fees.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Certainly.
Yeah. Yes, Councillor Allgate.
But
do we have a seconder for that? Councillor Page. Yes, Councillor Allgate.
I was concerned at the time that this particular road, the road up to the line of load, was going to, that the council was going to take it over. It was going to cost something like almost $700,000 to do it up at the time. We got a grant to do that. But if we were to take over the road as a public road, it's just another road that we would have to maintain. We have difficulty maintaining our roads that we currently have without extending our parameters. And because that road's on not consolidated ground by any means, and with rains like we've had in the recent days, and probably more heavier short rains, it's subject to a hell of a lot of scouring, and it could take a lot of maintenance in terms of cost. And we all know what bitumen sealing work is costing per kilometre. And I'm a little bit, I think we should be concentrating on the roads that we currently own as public roads without extending. But I'm happy to move the motion.
Any speakers against?
Yes.
Councillor Brown.
Yes, Mayor Kennedy. Well, I'd like to make a comment first because I'm not totally clear now what the motion is. I mean, is it that we take no further action, or that we'll write to Crown Land saying that we'll continue if they give us a guarantee? It's kind of.
I think it's meant to be that take no further action until we get a guarantee. That's what.
Yeah,
you meant,
well, it's not very
Councillor
clear.
Yeah.
As it is now, but I'll speak against it anyway because.
Can I just say before, Councillor Brown, is that okay?
Hey, no, you meant that.
Make a comment about the motion as it stands, and the motion says at this point in time. It doesn't say forever. It doesn't say we're not going to do it. It says we sit tight.
But you're happy to clarify by saying that no action until we can get a guarantee from until. It's only a matter of until.
Well, I thought the intent was clear.
But if just so everyone understands it, includes Councillor Brown, you're happy with that? Councillor Allgate? Yes, Councillor Brown?
Yeah, but I will still speak against
that's all right.
The intention of this. I just think that it's unwise not to kind of accept the native title claim, because we still have a lot of unresolved native title issues, and it's very clear that, you know, whether we like it or not, the Barkindji native title group, you know, feel very aggrieved that they've missed out on a lot of opportunities in the recent past for compensation. It's very clear that, you know, they want to be heard in this. So I would think that we'll be making, we'll just be postponing future issues when we have to deal with this. I mean, I know one of the issues we face at the moment is extending the city boundaries, because, you know, we are critically short of land for all sorts of things. You know, we've got the landfill, perhaps. I know that there's land put away from there, extending possibly to build all of the houses that we need in the next few years. For the cemetery, for example, I don't know what the options are there, but they could well involve dealing with parcels of land that would be liable for this. I just think it's unwise, and we might be just putting off much bigger problems in the next few years. And I think, having given our undertaking before that we were prepared to deal, I think it's a very bad look, and I don't think it's very fair. So I'll certainly speak against that.
Yeah. Just for the gallery and councillors, just to make sure that everyone knows what we're speaking about, this parcel of land was taken over when there was no native title claim on it. Council agreed to take over a piece of land that wasn't our piece of land, which cost the community and will cost the community dearly. That money that was used for that land become a priority of the then council when the bypass road didn't go ahead. So I don't know why a road that didn't belong to us become a major priority for the city in the first place, but it did. And then council agreed to take over that parcel of land from the Crown Land under the current circumstances, which didn't have a native title claim on it. It now has a native title claim on it, which means that we'll be paying money to clear the native title claim to then take over a road, which is a liability, as Councillor Allgate said, which could cost the council and community maybe millions of dollars. So we're taking over a liability. We're fighting a native title claim on that particular piece of land. So we'll be fighting it for things that we should be fighting it for, or addressing it with, and that is expanding our boundaries, et cetera, et cetera. But I think Councillor Allgate made it quite clear we should not be spending money on a native title claim to take over a liability that the Crown Land should be doing. If they want us to take over their liability, they need to free it up before we take it over. So I think that's what you more or less was saying, Councillor Allgate.
Yes, Mayor Kennedy, but I'll save it until the right of reply.
Yeah, yeah. Do we have any speakers in favour of it? No. Any further speakers against? Because I sort of spoke in favour. So any speakers against? No. Right of reply, Councillor Allgate.
Thanks, Mayor Kennedy. I understand to a degree where Councillor Brown is coming from, but at no time did I say that I'm not in consideration of the Barkindji tribe or anybody else for that matter. I made no comment about the need to extend the cemetery or to extend the city boundaries. That has nothing to do with this particular matter, nothing whatsoever. This is about a road that really doesn't belong to us, that has been upgraded to the tune of 600, almost 700,000 some time back. And it now looks like that if we are to actively pursue ownership of this particular road, we could be in for significant costs and also compensation. And as a representative of the ratepayers in this town, I want to see the roads that we currently own upgraded and kept in shape, not a road that we don't own. And I just don't follow the logic that a councillor could speak against not proceeding with this matter at this point in time and saving the council money if in fact the Crown Lands decides to pass all the costs over to us. And I think we should be aware of that. This is ratepayers' money, not our money.
Thank you, Councillor Allgate. All those in favour? Councillor Gallagher, Councillor Page, Councillor Boland, Councillor Allgate, Councillor Jewett, Councillor Chandler, Councillor Hickey and Mayor Kennedy. Those against? Councillor Turley and Councillor Brown. Declare the motion carried. Item 2, do we have a mover for item 2?
I'll move that one.
Oh, sorry. Councillor Turley. Move, Councillor.
Yes, I'll move that way.
Just wait for Councillor Turley to. Thank you. Councillor King.
Yeah, I'll move that way.
Seconder.
I'll second that way.
As is. Seconder. Councillor Gallagher. You'd like to speak to that, Councillor?
Yeah, look, I'd just like to get this through and get it underway. And looking forward to a positive result for the CWA.
Thank you, Councillor Key. Any speakers against? Comment, Councillor Gallagher?
Yeah, just a comment. I echo the sentiments of Deputy Mayor Hickey. It's a good thing we've moved forward. We've made a right decision. Now the mural will go ahead by the look of it. And it's great to dedicate it to the ladies of the CWA. They've done a great job for Australia.
Thank you, Councillor Gallagher. All those in favour? Declare it carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Thanks, Cody. Thank you, Councillor Turley. It was passed as written. Item 3, do we have a mover for item 3?
I'll move item 3.
Could you also choose council's 3 delegates or nominate 3 delegates, Councillor Allgate? Or would councillors like to put up their hand if they would like to be on that Ageing Well Committee? Councillor Page, thank you. Councillor Gallagher, Councillor Allgate.
I just, Mr. Mayor, I just want to make a comment. I was looking, just suggest some additions to the organisations that are to be contacted. I'm just trying to look for, representative, that so that the terms of reference include some of the Live Better, Australian Unity as two who are two of the NGOs who offer home care packages. I think they really need to be included there. And I may have missed some others, but I don't think this list is complete.
Councillor Allgate, would you like to add to your motion to include that Councillor Brown actually liaise with the General Manager with other names?
Yes, certainly.
If you're happy with that, Councillor Brown? Yep. Do we have this? Did we have a seconder for that motion? Yeah, Councillor Gallagher. Speak to it, Councillor Allgate.
Yes, Mayor Kennedy. Just to say that when you read the report, it tells us what we already know. We have an ageing community. Something like 22% of the Broken Hill community are aged 65 or over. And the thing is that that percentage is growing at a more rapid rate than most New South Wales local government areas. And the council really is in a good position to work with all the other agencies, not to take over, but to work with all the other agencies who provide services that are needed for the aged, and there are many of those. And I agree with Councillor Brown. You know, Australian Unity, there are quite a few that provide home care packages, and my wife and I have used, my late wife and I, we used the home care services of Australian Unity, and they were wonderful. But it's a matter of trying to get all the agencies together and to work as one, instead of crossing paths and duplicating all the time. And I would hope that this particular committee might be able to achieve that. Thank you.
Councillor Page.
Yes, Mayor Kennedy. Shorty O'Neill Village is full at the moment, plus we have a waiting list of over 70 people waiting to go into that type of accommodation. I've been saying for 20 odd years, this sort of area is a growth area all over the world, and I think Broken Hill has come a long way in the last 20 odd years, and there's a lot more that can be done, and I'm glad that Broken Hill City Council is starting to take an interest in the elderly. Instead of selling our Shorty O'Neill Village, it still should be in the hands of council. Council done a wonderful job, and I'm quite sure this committee will make a lot of progress. So thank you, Mayor Kennedy.
Thank you, Councillor Page. Anyone else? No? All those in, I would like you don't need to write a reply, Councillor Allgate? No. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Item 4. Have a mover for item 4.
I'll move that way, Mayor Kennedy.
Thank you, Councillor Boland. Do we have anyone that would like to, there's 3 council delegates. Anyone like to be on the youth? Councillor Boland, Councillor Turley and Councillor Jewett. Thank you, councillors. We have a seconder for that.
Second that one.
Seconder, Councillor Icky. You'd like to speak to Councillor Boland?
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. This is great to see this written. I remember back to my younger years, I'm still young, but younger, when I had hair and a smaller beer guts. Council was a leader. Well, I wasn't drinking back then, so that's why it was smaller. Council was a leader in youth, this kind of youth stuff back in the day. I don't recall ever getting fully involved. I think I was too busy coming to normal council meetings by the time I was 16. But certainly through my years at Williama and as a young adult, I remember this being a very proactive committee. And I remember our council being very proactive in it as well. I think that was during Councillor Page's time in the chair. So I'm very excited to see this back. If we look after our elderly people and we're looking after our young people, I think the future of this city is looking very, very bright, and I'm very proud to be a council delegate on this committee.
Thank you, councillor Boland. You'd like to comment, councillor Turley?
No, I'm okay. Thank
No.
you.
I'll just briefly comment. You can as well. Just briefly comment. Our first councillor on that committee was councillor Turley and myself. So we were much younger then as well. So we both were. Yes, councillor Hickey.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Kennedy. Last week I was fortunate enough to be with the Mayor and the State Members of Parliament for the opening of the skate park and the Queen Elizabeth Park. And if the enthusiasm and the excitement in those kids, it's to be on that youth committee is a privilege because they were just so excited and they came to us with suggestions of a foam pit for them to be able to do bombs and things off their skateboards. And the Mayor rode a scooter briefly around the thing, very briefly. But it's just a great committee, and I think it's they're our future leaders, and for some of those kids to be on that committee will be beneficial for them and for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Hickey. Yes, it was. Jay was there. The general manager was there as well, and it was quite funny. There was 30 or 40 kids all flocking us with photos and all that sort of stuff. That skate park is very well liked by the community. I did acknowledge our former councillor, Branko Lacour, who had a big part in that. So it was a very successful council operation, the skate park. So well done to the previous council and this council for following it up. So all those in favour of the motion? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, councillors. We move on to committee reports, policy in general. Item number 1. Do we have a mover for item number 1?
I'll move that way.
Councillor Boland, we have a seconder. Councillor Allgate, you speak to that, Councillor Boland?
Yes, reading through this, I think it's the right thing to do to put this back to the community. The ratepayers are basically our bosses as councillors. They vote us in, and I think for them to have a say in whether or not councillors receive superannuation is the right call to be made. It will add quite a significant amount of money to the councillor fees because it is on top of the councillors' fees, I believe. So I think at the current 10.5%, you're looking at around $22,000, and it'll heading up to 12% by the 1st of July 2025. That fee's only going to get bigger. But if the ratepayers of this city think we deserve superannuation, I'd certainly be happy to move that way. But superannuation payments or councillor fees were certainly not a consideration when I stood for council.
Thank you, Councillor Boland. Do we have any speakers against? No? Councillor Brown?
Just make a point.
Yes, Councillor Brown.
This community does consist of more than ratepayers. Not everyone is a ratepayer. We've got to be a bit more inclusive, I think, in referring to our community, because there are many, many people here who aren't ratepayers, but they are equal members of this community.
They most certainly are equal members of the community, so it's residents, but everyone remember our income is derived by ratepayers. So even though I agree with Councillor Brown by the residents, user charges are paid by everyone, but rates come from our income is derived from rates. I didn't say they didn't contribute, but rates is where our income comes from. Any further speakers? No? All those in favour? Declare it carried unanimously. Thank you. Oh, sorry. Oh, right, now I've got to read it. Sorry, Councillor Page, now I've got to read it out. Councillor Gallagher, Councillor Turley, Councillor Brown, Councillor Boland, Councillor Allgate, Councillor Jewett, Councillor Chandler, Councillor here, Mayor Kennedy, and against Councillor Page. Thank you, Councillor Page. Item 2, do we have a mover for item 2?
I'll move item 2.
Councillor Allgate, seconder. Councillor Hickey, speak to it, Councillor Allgate.
Yes, just to say that the updated community strategic plan is a great document, and I mean it's a hell of a read. I suppose at the start, I'd like to thank the General Manager and the staff who have had great input into this particular document that's updated soon after each election. And in terms of all the plans that the council has, and the council has many, this is the most important document that exists. And everything else that the council does keys into this particular plan. So if you get this plan wrong, it's hard to get the rest of it right. And personally, for somebody that's not only worked on the council, but been a councillor a long time, I think this is a great document. And I think it does those that compiled it a great deal of credit.
Thank you, Councillor Allgate. Anyone speak against? Anyone brief comment?
Yeah.
Councillor Hickey.
Thanks, Mayor Kennedy. Yes, I concur with Councillor Allgate. It is a very important document. And when I first started reading, I thought 2040, it's a long time, but it's not really. It's only 18 years. And probably most of us will still be around. So it's a long time for Bob. But yeah, I concur with that.
Anyone else? All those in favour? Declare it carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Item number 3, do we have a mover for item number 3?
That as well, if you like.
Councillor Allgate, seconder. Councillor Boland. Councillor Allgate, you'd like to speak to it?
Suffice to say that as an able-bodied person, not so able now, but as an able-bodied person most of my life, I never took specific interest in those people with disabilities. I probably did the wrong thing. I just felt sorry for them. But I realise now, in my later life, having nursed my wife for many years, my late wife, who became wheelchair bound, since that time, about 4 years ago, I really understand how important this particular policy or plan is. I think we all take a lot of things for granted in life, and unfortunately, we overlook some of the more important things. And when you actually have to experience sharing life with somebody who has a disability, it comes home very, very hard and true. And we can never do enough to, as far as I'm concerned now. It's not a view I've always held, but at this stage in life, I think we can never do enough to help those who have a disability of any form.
Thank you, Councillor Allgate. Any speakers against? Any comment? No.
Can I make a general comment, please,
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy?
Councillor Boland.
I cannot support. I cannot support any more what Councillor Allgate said, with the way you don't understand until you see someone or in Councillor Allgate's case, his wife. I certainly have experienced this due to my through my day-to-day job, when the chair of the board of the club lost a leg a few years ago, and all of a sudden you're getting feedback on exactly what needs to be done and what's missing and what's lacking in not only the buildings that I manage, but also council facilities as well. So this is a great thing to see. And it appears that the feedback has been received from the right community groups that look after these people and provide services for them. So it's going to be a good thing. And I think you, Mayor, you mentioned at the standing committee that the late councillor Jamie Mitchell would be very proud. And I was also obviously his brother. Finished his life disabled as well, who worked for me personally through work. And I think you can add Mr. Mitchell's brother to that list as well. That'd be very proud.
For sure, councillor Boland. Yes, I'm sure most of the councillors in this room had great respect for former councillor Jamie Mitchell, who died while serving as a councillor, and he was a big advocate for disability inclusion. So do we have anyone else like to speak? No? Councillor Turley?
Thank you. And, you know, it's great memories of Jamie and the importance. This is the second plan we've had, and it really consolidates the work that we're doing. And certainly it's the little things from whether we're looking at those entry points from footpaths to roads, or making sure that we think of all issues around access, including our websites are visible, our services are accessible, and our library itself, which does a great job, the services they provide as well. So across the board, I think this is our second or third plan, but it certainly is one of the critical ones that, as Councillor Allgate says, feeds into our strategic plan. So thank you.
Thank you, councillor Turley. All those in favour? Oh, councillor Hickey.
If you wouldn't mind, Mayor Kennedy, I just want to reinforce the Queen Elizabeth Park, how well it's been done for disabled. And to you, General Manager, it's just a credit to you and your staff. There's not a step there. It's all flat. Even the play equipment is disabled friendly. The train's disabled friendly now. It's a really credit, the toilets, everything. It's just an absolute credit to you, and thank you.
Thank you, councillor Hickey. All those in favour? Declare the motion carried unanimously. Yeah. Item number 4. Do we have a mover for item number 4?
I'll move that way.
Councillor Boland, we have a seconder. Councillor Allgate. Councillor Boland, you like to speak to it?
I think this policy is just a good common sense policy. We're all humans and we all want to say hello to people we know. And I think since I commenced as a councillor, there's certainly been a massive change around the council buildings, and it's great to be able to walk through and say hello to everybody. But this is a very common sense approach. There is boundaries in place. The delegations is very clearly identified. We know where the general manager stands, where the senior executive team stands, and where the staff stand, and of course where councillors stand as well, and how we act. So this is a very sensible policy, and I've certainly seen the changes in the last 4 or 5 months since elected. So yeah, looking forward to obviously still talking to people and still being human as well. So yeah, good policy.
Thank you, councillor Allgate. No speakers against? No one wants to speak? No? All those in favour? Declare it carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Item number 5, councillor support policy. We have a mover. Councillor Turley, seconded councillor Brown. You like to speak to that, councillor Turley? I think that's a pretty clear one. No one speak? No. All those in favour? Declare it carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Item number 6. Do we have a mover for item number 6? Councillor Page, seconded councillor Allgate.
Second.
You like to speak to that, councillor Page?
Just make comment that I think we're on the right track in regard to this. It'll be a cost saving to our council and the ratepayers of Broken Hill.
I couldn't agree more. Anyone else? Councillor Hickey.
Yeah, look, I'd firstly like to congratulate Simon Brown and his team. It's absolutely critical, because the angst that's been caused in this city over rates, over the collection of rates, is terrible. And I've heard it firsthand by hundreds of people who get their notices from that executive collections, and it's disgraceful. And this is a whole brand new recovery section, and it's well done. Thank you.
That's it. I'd just also like to say that it's a new council. We want our principles to reflect what we believe in, and I think the community is seeing that, and I think that policy actually goes a long way to reflecting what we want to achieve as a council. So thank you to Simon and the General Manager and whoever else helped write that. So thank you. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Item 7.
I'll move that way, Mayor
Councillor
Kennedy.
Boland, we have a seconder. Councillor Hickey. Councillor Boland, you'd like to speak to that?
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. Obviously, when moving increases in rates, it's not something we like to do, but unfortunately, it's a fact of life that CPI inflation is going up. My CPI goes up every year. The 2.3% is still well under inflation and CPI. And if we didn't move this way and go for the 2.3%, services suffer. And footpaths fall apart, garbage trucks fall apart, bins don't get empty, that kind of stuff. So to maintain services, unfortunately, we do have to increase our rates. Just like any business around Australia or around Broken Hill, you've got to increase your cost of goods. As your cost of goods go up, you've got to increase your prices. As the RBA reported today, headline inflation's 5.3%. That's the highest in 20 years. The market expected 4.6%. The preferred one, the underlying inflation, that's sitting at 3.7%. The RBA likes that between 2 and 3%. So I think 2.3%, sorry, is well within side where we need to be sitting and to continue to provide services, especially when viewing it in line with the inflationary pressures right now, especially the underlying 3.7% or fundamental rate of inflation. I think this is a very sensible decision that will ensure that services continue to the community.
Any speakers against? You want to comment, Councillor Hickey?
Yeah, I just concur with Councillor Boland. You can't afford to not do it, because if you get behind 1 year, it stays behind forever. So if you drop off that 2.3% this year, then you can never catch it up, and you're behind the 8 ball forever. I think IPART recommended 0.7%, which was just ridiculous, considering they also recommended a 5% increase in the essential water. So I don't see where they're coming from on this. And I think the decision to go to 2.3% is a good decision.
Thank you, Councillor Hickey. Yes, Councillor Zen, for the community and people listening. So what's about to be moved is that we go from, it was recommended by IPART 0.7%, which is well below CPI. Councillor was asking for 2.3%, which is part of our long-term financial plan to bring us into surplus in a couple of years. If it's not done, the surplus won't happen, and eventually services will struggle. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Item 8. Councillor Allgate, seconder.
Second.
Councillor Gallagher, speak to it, Councillor Allgate.
Need to speak to it, it's all there.
No worries. Councillor Gallagher, no. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you, councillors. Item number 9, investment report. Do we have a mover for the investment report?
I'll move that way.
Councillor Gallagher, seconded. Councillor Boland, you like to speak to that, Councillor Gallagher?
No, it's all in the report, Mayor Kennedy.
No worries. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Item number 10. We have a mover for item number 10. Move Councillor Turley, seconded Councillor Brown. Would you like to speak to that, Councillor Turley?
Sorry, Mr. Mayor. No, I move this way with the nominations for the 355 committees, and it's been a great concern to a few councillors that it was delayed around how we were recruiting. But I'm also concerned about how few have actually applied for committees. And I would suggest that we try and take out some kind of editorial in the paper and the media and really do a big push to
Yep.
try and
Like to add
attract
that to
people. I
your-
think it's the lowest number I've ever seen of people applying.
Yeah. Would you like to add to that, councillor Turley, to
That
do a bit
we
of advertising
actively-
around that area?
That we actively recruit for the vacant positions on all 355 committees.
You happy to second that, councillor Brown? Yep, yep. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Item number 11. We have a mover for item number 11.
Move that way.
Councillor Hickey, we have a seconder.
I've got an amendment to that.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Councillor,
I'd just like the delegates, I think, and I guess Councillor Boland has suggested he would like to go on it.
I think you're
And-
already on it, aren't you? Who's our
and-
delegates? Councillor Gallagher, you're a
Gallagher,
delegate, aren't you?
Yeah.
And you're a delegate.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And well, just to recommend that Councillor Gallagher remain as the chair of that committee.
You happy to
if you're happy with
remain the chair of that, councillor Gallagher?
Yeah, thank you very much. It'd be nice.
Thank you. So we had a seconder for that, councillor Gallagher to be councillor Page. Yep. No one speak against? No, it looks like a hand there. Councillor, you scratched your head just at the. All those in favour? Declare it carried. Thank you, councillors. That's that taken care of. We now move on to further reports. Item number 1, land care right on movers. Do we have a mover for that? Councillor Hickey, we have a seconder.
Second that way.
Yep,
I have an amendment.
okay.
My amendment is 1 to 4.
1 to 4, yep. Too late, councillor. Yeah, keep, I'll allow councillor Hickey to speak to his motion first. Then you can move your amendment, councillor Turley. Councillor Hickey?
Well, I've got an item 6 for that one, and that it referred back to the Chairman of Health and Building.
So you're adding to your
Adding to the original motion.
The recommendation.
The recommendation, that's correct. To be invited to instigate options to deliver the proposal to use the mowers. At this stage.
So I'll just see if the seconder, you happy to accept that, councillor Page? That the chairman of the building,
Health
and
building,
building investigate further options. Yep. You'd like to speak to your motion?
I do. yeah.
Okay, councillor Hickey.
I just think that council might have got a little bit wrong, our council, in when they're doing their investigations into it, that the photographs and all that are more commercial and industrial style stuff. We're talking about really domestic style mowers. I've spoken to a couple of legal people on that, and there appears to be there's some ways around this, and I'd just like to take the opportunity to go ahead myself and get some more clarification to see if we can actually go ahead with it, because I'd really like to see it happen within the city, that we have our own little teams, and that there's volunteers that desperately want to help, and if we can get them to help and clean it, keep our city clean, it's going to save council thousands and thousands of dollars over the years.
Yep.
Thanks.
Councillor
I'll
Turley, you'd
move
like
an
to move the
amendment.
amendment?
I'll move the amendment 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6.
Yep,
So that includes councillor Hickey's
yep,
motion.
yep. Oh, yeah,
I'm-
and just, that's it, is it?
Yep.
Yeah,
that's
6
it.
becomes 5.
Yep.
Yep, yep, no worries.
Do I have a second?
Oh, so you just want to remove the tidy town?
Yeah, I just
part.
think it's, given when I read, and do you want to wait for a seconder?
You happy to remove that, Jim?
Oh,
Happy
okay.
to, Jim, happy to take that out.
Okay.
You've been involved with tidy towns for a long time. You know what the
Capability
thing
is,
is.
yep.
Yeah. So,
Well, I'll withdraw my amendment if it's
okay,
included.
okay. Any speakers? Well, obviously no speakers against. We've just come up with the same thing. All those in favour? Declare it carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Item number 2. We have a mover for item number 2.
I'll move that way.
Thank you, councillor Turley. We have a seconder. Councillor Jewett. You'd like to speak to that, councillor Turley?
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I think this is a great concept. I know it was talked about before,
Yeah.
but I certainly think for our community, we need to engage them more.
Yeah.
I think that using print is one way of doing that, and that making sure that we use infographics would be very good to make sure that people with literacy, as we've already talked about the disability inclusion, can actually have access to that as well. So I'm very happy to support this, move this motion.
Yeah. Would councillors like to see an opportunity for councillors to put in a small article each month from each councillor be invited? It's up to councillors.
Well, I don't think you need a motion. Do you want it included?
No, I just mean, are councillors happy with
happy
that sort of
to-
thing, or we go through how we want the
No, happy
newsletter to format? or
incorporate
what?
that councillors become active in the newsletter.
Yeah.
Just,
Brown?
yeah, just a comment, Mr. Mayor, that the recommendation actually is that the report be received and the costs are noted.
Oh, right.
It doesn't actually say that we'll, go ahead and either, produce a newsletter or produce a series of them. So that was implied by Councillor Turley, but it doesn't actually say that yet.
Would you, Councillor
So,
Turley, would you
yes,
like
so
to
my
start
motion
a
would
trial
be-
period?
Yeah, so we do a 12-month trial.
Yep.
I think 12 months is long
Yep.
enough,
Yep.
and that within the trial that councillors can actively participate,
Yep.
including
Would you like to refer it back to one of the standing committees to formulate to get a format for the newsletter?
I think
So
it-
we agree
I
to have
think
it, but
can
then,
come back, a
Yep.
report come back to
Yep.
council on the format.
all right.
So
You
the
happy with
report
that?
come back to
Yep.
council on format that it will take.
Yeah. Councillor Jewett, you happy to add that as seconder? Yep.
Yeah, just a comment, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering whether, at least initially, monthly would be a bit much
All right.
for the staff to
Yep.
do. I mean, there's going to be a bit of,
Yep.
and asking councillors, to put in a report every month. I think that you're going to be scratching. I
You're
think,
talking
to
quarterly?
do that. I'm thinking maybe bi-monthly,
Bi-monthly.
perhaps is going to be a bit more achievable in the short term. We see, that as part of the trial period, and then
Councillor-
maybe if that
Yep.
kind of gets into a routine that's really popular,
Yep.
then, look to do it.
All right.
Maybe
Councillor
more
Turley,
often.
you happy with bi-monthly? Councillor Jewett?
Happy with
Happy with
bi-monthly. I
bi-monthly.
think most councils do it, quarterly and
Yeah.
others. So we want to try
Work in
bi-monthly.
progress anyway.
Yeah.
We'll work out the best way. Anyone like to speak to that, councillor Higgy? No. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. The rebranding, do we have a mover?
Yeah, move that
Councillor,
way with an amendment.
with a change of the
Change that.
recommendation?
Yep.
Go, councillor.
I'd like to add a recommendation for the council send correspondence to its internal auditors, O'Connor Marsden, asking them to explain how they conducted that the general manager had delegated authority to spend $36,250 of unspent wages on rebranding art gallery, and how they determined that rebranding and renaming an asset is an operational matter. And 5, that once an answer is received by council's auditors, then a report will be prepared and tabled at policy and general committee for determination.
Thank you, councillor.
Second
Councillor
that.
Higgy,
Second that.
second that, councillor. You like to speak to that,
I
councillor
would like to
Higgy?
speak on that. My major concern of this is that it's been come back from the auditors, and they've, instead of, I believe, strategical, not operational. And I don't see, in any budget that I've ever worked with, that you can transfer funds from one thing, and this was used from unspent wages and move to pay for a rebranding consultation. I don't believe you can do that without the approval of council. And I just think that's got to be investigated back through the auditors. They've said you can, but I disagree, and I think it should go back to them and get them to explain how it's not a strategical operation, not rather than a operational.
So your concern is a process?
In the process that they've done.
Yep. Anyone speak against that motion? No? All those in favour? In favour is Councillor Gallagher, Councillor Page, Councillor Boland, Councillor Allgate, Councillor Jewett, Councillor Chandler, Councillor Hickey, Mayor Kennedy, and against Councillor Turley and Councillor Brown. Thank you, councillors. It's passed. Item number 4, storms events response costing report. We have a mover
Can I
for that.
move that way with
Councillor
a,
Boland.
an amendment or
Yep.
a, number 4, I believe there's a fair bit of federal and state disaster funding. I'd like to add a point 4 to the recommendation that we ask the General Manager to write a letter to the state and federal government seeking further assistance for our storm cleanup. I believe the cost is is going to be around $800,000, and there's the support from the government. So I'd like a letter written to the appropriate departments to seek further disaster funding.
Our state and federal member, you said.
Yes.
Have a seconder for that? Councillor Gallagher. You'd like to speak to that, Councillor Boland?
Obviously, the weather we've been having for the last 12 months is certainly been on the higher end of the extreme scale for Broken Hill. And I certainly know as a councillor, and I talking to other councillors, I believe they've had the same issues with plenty of ratepayers coming up to us saying roads are damaged, footpaths are damaged, they're dangerous. Obviously, getting out and replacing those roads and footpaths costs money. And the federal and state government has made disaster funding available. So I'd like the city to be able to have access to that. And I believe the damage to railway town roads is quite significant. So it'd be good to do the work so next time it buckets down that the roads aren't damaged. And I believe there's also that disaster funding's also there for mitigation work as well.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you, Councillor Boland. Any speakers against?
I'm not
Councillor-
speaking against, Mr. Chair.
Just a
Mr.
comment,
Mayor.
Councillor
No, not a
Turley?
comment.
No.
A question.
Yep.
Did council, I absolutely support Councillor Boland's 4th item, but did council receive, were we part of the councils that received the $1 million money for floods? There was 53 councils that received that.
Through me to the General Manager. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy, through you. Yes, we were a part of declared natural disaster area by the federal and state government. So we have been given the application from New South Wales Resilience, which we have submitted for that disaster relief, which include the initial cleanup costs, as well as the long-term rectification costs for the stormwater damage.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. General Manager. All those in favour? Declare it carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Do we have a mover for item number 5?
Move that way.
Financial assistance to AgFair Telecommunications. Move, Councillor Allgate.
Yes.
Seconded, Councillor
second that way.
Gallagher. Speak to it, Councillor Allgate.
Yes, only to say that the situation is absolutely ridiculous, that a couple of kilometres from normal residential areas, there's no telecommunications at the racecourse. I'm not sure what happens at the golf club, but given some of the activities that in recent years and then more recently just the Monday Bush Bash, the number of people that were accommodated out at the racecourse, you know, it's imperative that organisations, whoever they are, if they hold functions out there, they ought to have access to the normal facilities that the rest of us have.
Yeah.
And if we've got that $37,000 unspent in the grants, the community assistance grants, I think there's no better organisation to give it to than AgFair.
Thank you, Councillor Allgate. Councillor Gallagher, you want to speak, considering you do the races out there as well?
Yeah, I do. It's not just the races I'm involved in. It's the other areas, as Councillor Allgate's mentioned. It's AgFair, it's St Pat's, it's the visitors to Broken Hill. It'll be the Monday Bash again in August. They'll be using that facility. So look, I commend this recommendation, and also I think that we can look at it at present time. It's what's called Yagi, which is that pack saddle, which the RDA provided. It's only about 25,000, 30,000. It's an extra tower. extra antenna, which will boost the telecommunications, both Wi-Fi and internet, and also telephone. So that's a great asset. So I think we should look into that also. I commend this recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Gallagher. Council will also be going after funding, so we'll try and reduce our contribution where we can. That's the most we'll have to pay out to make it happen, but the general manager's in the process of trying to get extra funding to reduce our how much we have to pay. So thank you to the general manager. Yes, Councillor Allgate.
There should be permanent connections out there.
There should
permanent, reliable connections. If there are emergencies, which in horse racing, there are always the potential for emergencies. And when you've got 3,500 people living out there for some up to 4 or 5 days, and there's virtually no communication, telecommunications there, it's just wrong.
We've sent that letter off, haven't we? Yeah. So we've sent off a letter voicing our concerns there, and we mentioned the emergency services and that sort of thing. So yeah, all agreed. So all those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Item number 6, Councillor Brown, Traffic Committee.
Yes, Mr Mayor, I'm happy to move the recommendation. I wasn't actually able to attend the most recent meeting, but that if councillors are interested in the matter of that was brought up at the last public forum about the what's happening around Burke Ward School, I note that the traffic counters will be put in place, and the matter has been referred to the body that actually has the power to do something about it, which is not council. It's that there is a Transport for New South Wales, a committee that looks into safety around schools and so on. But it has been dealt with, previously, and will be, I'm sure, in future meetings.
Excellent work, Councillor Brown. Do we have a seconder for that?
I'll second that.
Councillor Allgate.
I'd also like to make a comment on specifically Councillor Brown's mention of Burkewood School. I originally raised many months ago on behalf of 3 lots of parents that came to see me about the dangers of children running across Gypsum Street whilst the traffic lights are up in the main exit. Many of the children apparently go through a side gate, and the parents that approached me were concerned that at some stage there's going to be a fatality or a serious injury. And then I was told by the same people when the traffic committee had their inspection, prior to that, I suppose the school management locked that gate so the children couldn't get out of that gate. So there was no problem.
Yeah, you're aware of that, Councillor Brown, and the committee.
No, the only inspection that I can recall, Mr Mayor, was to do with more to do with parking outside, marking the parking lines outside the school along Rackauer Street, rather than I don't think we looked at the side there, but I'm sure that can be done in the future. I would think. Okay. I mean, if it's
that'd be good.
The problem is the school. Maybe the school itself can do something about it, but we'll see what happens.
Thank you, Councillor Allgate. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Item number 7, the Risk and Improvement Committee meeting minutes. Someone like to move that?
I'll move that way.
Councillor Boland, seconded. Councillor Hickey, speak to it, Councillor Boland.
I'd just like to quickly say it was a good and productive meeting through our budget meetings yesterday. It was good to see the line budgets back, and also the meeting yesterday was extremely well put together, which I would say comes through the Audit and Risk Committee. So congratulations to staff that put that together. But it was great to see some recommendations from that first meeting already being followed up by the council staff, and they did a wonderful job explaining everything. So when it comes back to the Audit and Risk, it'll be pretty self-explanatory.
Thank you, Councillor Boland. No speakers against? All those in favour? Declare it carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Item number 8, someone like to move item number 8? Councillor Gallagher, there you go. Seconder, Councillor Allgate. You'd like to speak to that, Councillor Gallagher?
Not really, Mr. Mayor. It's just, it's good to see that a lot of green following a previous council I used to say every time.
Thank you, Councillor Gallagher. No speakers against? No. All those in favour? Declare it carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. That ends that section, and we now move on to questions that were taken on notice from the last meeting. It's good to see that the questions were answered to the members of the public as well. So can we have a mover for that? Councillor Gallagher, seconded. Councillor Jewett. Speak to a councillor? No?
No.
All those in favour? Declare it carried unanimously. Thank you. Questions for the next meeting? Anyone got any questions for the next meeting?
Yes.
Councillor Brown?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I was interested to read in the paper in the Barrier of Truth the other day that there's a proposal or plans to demolish the Aero Club building at the airport. Now, I mean, I'd be one of the few people probably that can remember that when the airport was developed, when that major development took place, there was a proposal originally to demolish that building then, and that was even though the contracts had been signed and so on, but that was pulled out of the plan at the last minute, more or less, because that was on the recommendation of the Heritage Advisor, as I recall, that was a building of some his heritage significance then, as one of the last examples of that type of building in Australia. So my question is whether this has been referred to the Heritage Advisor, and if so, what's the advice there? Because I'm pretty sure that that Liz Vines was our Heritage Advisor at the time. Well, I think she was, but there certainly was advice, and certainly that building was retained because of its significance.
James, would you like to answer?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I'm not sure of the DA process, but we'll certainly take that on notice and follow it up. Thank you.
But could you get an answer to the councillors well before next meeting? Thanks.
Yes, yep. And when I say I'm not sure of the DA process, I'm just not sure of the stages of where it is in that stage of the DA process, but we'll certainly do that and circulate it to councillors via email.
Thank you, Mr. General Manager.
Just one further question.
Yes, Councillor Gallagher.
If that is the case in relation to the Aero Club, what land is the council going to provide for the new clubhouse at the airport?
Oh, right. Okay.
And will they have? Are they going to purchase land? If that's the case, what's the position of the Aero Club in that relation? Because I do know a lot of members out at the Aero Club are very interested in that, if that is to occur.
Happy to add that to what you find out.
Yeah.
Yep. Any other?
I've got one,
Councillor Boland.
Mayor Kennedy. After the success of the Monday Bash over the weekend, I noticed Reconnecting Regional New South Wales has made available $25 million to regional councils to host events to bring the community together. My question is, are we an eligible council? And if we are, I'd like to see the council put an application in to bring events back, bring back, say, Jazz in the Outback was certainly a big event that the community used to really, really enjoy. So I'd like to see if or one, are we an eligible council? And two, is there a possibility to revive the Jazz in the Outback through this funding made available by Reconnecting Regional New South Wales?
Thank you, Councillor Boland. You're happy to follow that, Councillor? Oh. We are eligible. Yep. We might have to get an organisation or something. You're happy to just get a bit of a So you heard that.
Well, if that's the case, I'd like to see if it's possible for us to put an application in for.
the general manager is going to bring a report back, so we'll be able to make a decision and all that at a thing.
Yeah,
Thank you,
thank you,
Councillor
Mayor.
Boland.
Thank you, General Manager.
Mr.
Councillor
Mayor,
Turley.
Not sort of a specific or a different question, but to add to that, also funding for the, as you look at that Reconnection Regional New South Wales funding, that we look at funding for a curator for our Heritage Festival. We need
Okay.
to grow that festival. Every event
I
that
agree.
was held, it was very successful, you know, from the cemetery walks and to, you know, the site visits, the lighting up of the.
Would you like
the
to move a
tent.
motion of urgency, Councillor Turley, just to thank all involved with that
Yeah, I'm
Heritage
happy to do
Festival?
that.
I'll accept it as a
Okay.
motion of urgency. Someone second Councillor Turley's motion of urgency. Councillor Allgate, so if you'd like to just quickly say what you.
And that we thank all the event organisers, volunteers and community for attending for the Heritage Festival in its 5th year, and that we recognise the importance of the Heritage Festival going forward, and that we seek funding for a curator for the festival.
Thank you. Yes, it was magnificent out the back of the town hall facade. It really was an amazing festival, amazing show, light show and play. All those in favour of that motion? Carried. All those in, Councillor Jewett, Councillor Chandler? Yep, carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Any further questions? No, that's taken care of. We now move to public forum session. Does anyone would like to speak in the public forum session? You're able to bring up anything that happened in the actual council meeting if you want to ask questions or anything. No, no public forum. Thank you. We now move to.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor. Do
Sorry?
we have to wait the 15 minutes
No,
allocated
no,
in
no.
case someone attends?
No. It's because
Okay.
it's part of the actual council meeting, not a separate thing. So when we call it, we can hold it open for 15 minutes while they're speaking or stop it at any point. So now we move to confidential matters. So everyone will
Move
have
that.
to
Move that
leave.
way.
Move Councillor Allgate, seconded Councillor Boland. All those in favour? Carried unanimously.
While everybody's leaving, you might want.
Thank you to everyone that remained to hear the confidential resolutions. If the general manager could read them out, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. Item 1, confidential item, General Manager's performance agreement and review process expressions of interest. Broken Hill City Council Report number 98/22. Resolved 1, the Broken Hill City Council Report number 98/22 dated April 20, 2022 be received. 2, the council determines Blackadder Associates to facilitate the annual performance reviews of the general manager from 1st of July 2022, 31st to the 31st of March 2026. 3, that should the execution of contract papers be required, the mayor and deputy mayor be delegated to sign on council's behalf under the common seal of council. 4, the council note that Blackadder Associates will complete the general manager's review for the period of 1st of April 2021 through until 30th of June 2022. Item 2, Broken Hill City Council Report number 108/22. T21/1, request for tender for Iodide Street Road Reconstruction Stage 2. Resolved 1, the Broken Hill City Council Report number 108/22 dated April 21, 2022 be received. 2, that Connex Group Proprietary Limited be awarded the contract for T22/1 for the road reconstruction of Iodide Street from Union Street to Cummins Street Stage 2, including curb and gutter structures for the amount of $534,748.50 excluding GST. That council approve increase in capital budget for the proposed project for $8,000 to accommodate the selected tender. 4, the council appoint a suitably qualified person to oversee the works to ensure the quality and standards are in place. Confidential item 3, Broken Hill City Council Report number 99/22, Civic Centre Legal Action Update. Resolved 1, that Broken Hill City Council Report number 99/22 dated April 20, 2022 be received. 2, the council note the below report and further updates provided following the settlement agreement with AJ&C on the 23rd of March 2022. 3, that council note the matter is still ongoing for cost recovery and the next steps required. 4, that further reports and updates be provided to council as finalisation of the matter progresses. Thanks, Mayor Kennedy.
Thank you, General Manager Nankivell. That's it, isn't it? That's it. That's it, everyone. Meeting is finished. 8:20.